Hi, I just finished a live Q&A and I would love to share it with you. So if you keep watching, that's what you're gonna see. If you're new here, I am Jen. I am delighted to meet you. I am a physical therapist who's experienced radical healing on a carnivore diet, and now it's just basically my mission to spread the word to anyone who wants to hear it. In this video, I'm answering questions that people ask live, as well as some questions that people ask me ahead of time, really covering all kinds of things related to the carnivore diet. So if that interests you, stick around. In the caption, I'll try to timestamp the questions. That way, if you want to fast forward to something that's particularly appropriate to you, you can do that. I hope you enjoy. I won't keep you waiting. I'm going to go ahead and dive in with some questions. So first question on page 2 of 4 is, what has my doctor said about not being on any of my autoimmune medicines? What has their response been to the way my skin looks? So I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen the doctor yet. Well, I have actually. I go see my dermatologist sometimes for Botox. I do get Botox right here and right here. We have not talked about it because if I see him for my psoriasis, I have an $80 copay. And so I'm going to, okay, I want to go and be like, hey, I've been off my meds. It's now been 9 months. So honestly, I should probably wait and go at 1 year and be like, surprise, been off my meds for a year, look at my skin. And I think he'll be a little like, I don't know, I feel like he's going to be a little skeptical, but I need to go and I need to show him. And so I will pay $80 to do that. And I will definitely let you guys know how that goes. How has coffee affected you, and what do you use to shampoo your hair? Do you use regular shampoo or a more natural option? Kayla, that's a great question. Coffee. Okay, so I've cut it out before and tried adding it back in. I have a love-hate relationship with coffee. It's basically like the boyfriend that I know is not good for me, but I just keep going back to him. It's literally just like that. You ladies might know what I'm talking about. And in the past, sometimes when I add it back, I'll have like itchy skin, a rash, like things that I'm like, okay, definitely I should not be drinking coffee. And then sometimes I can get away with it a little bit. So I have been drinking it for a few days, and so far I'm getting away with it. I'll be honest with you, and also putting cream in it. So I didn't do coffee or cream basically for 6 months. I'm sorry, coffee or dairy, and I'm doing okay with it. So I'm gonna keep riding this wave for a while if I can. Oh, shampoo. I don't use any natural shampoo. I did get a shampoo bar from Spearhead Soaps, which is cool, but I never tried it on my hair. I used it on my body because it smelled great and I liked it. But for shampoo, I just use store brand, or when I wear my hair curly like this, I use this stuff that's from Amazon that's for wearing your hair curly. It's not clean or carnivore or anything like that. Okay, Rob says, I drink 16 egg yolks a day because the egg whites dry out my skin and scalp. Is there a limit one should have per day? So I think you're asking, is there a limit to how many egg yolks you should have? And the answer really is no, I would say. If it's making you sick, if it's upsetting your stomach, if it's causing digestive issues, then that's your personal limit. But if you're doing fine, if you're doing fine and you can afford 16 egg yolks a day, you'd keep doing it. And that's pretty typical, not pretty typical, it's somewhat common that people have sensitivities to the egg whites due to a particular protein that's in the egg whites. So if you think you might be sensitive to eggs, try just the yolks. You might be able to get away with it. Okay, this is my friend actually. Did you buy a meat slicer and dehydrator yet? Because he knows I freaking love beef jerky and I was cutting it by hand and he was telling me I needed a meat slicer. And yes, I did buy a meat slicer. I already had a dehydrator. But I still find the meat slicer to be a fair amount of work, and it's a lot of work to clean. So I prefer to buy my meat pre-sliced or act my very nicest and ask the butcher to cut it for me, which I do quite a bit. Crystal wants to know where I source my meat from. So a few places. One place I get meat from is Milagro Ranch. You can find out more about them on my website, delightedtomeetyou.com. I also still have meat that I used to get from a local farmer in Kansas where I live, but he just retired, so I won't be able to get meat from him anymore. And then I get a lot of meat from the grocery store actually. Have I had a patient with bone-on-bone hip dysplasia improve on carnivore? So I've not had any of my physical therapy patients be on a carnivore diet as far as I know. And if you have, in my opinion, if you have true bone-on-bone hips dysplasia, you may have some improvement just from general sort of decreased inflammation, but the damage is done. It's not like the carnivore diet is going to rebuild your acetabulum in the head of your femur. Okay, so you might be able to get by a little longer before surgery, but you're probably going to need a total hip. Now, your recovery from total hip replacement probably going to be way better if you're on a low carb or carnivore diet. Excellent question. So Rob is talking about his 16 egg yolks. It doesn't mess with my stomach. I'm trying to get my fats that way. Any other way you get your fats other than ribeye. I eat ribeye for breakfast every morning. My personal preference for fat, Rob, is fat trimmings. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I call Dillon's, my local grocery store. It's a Kroger store. I have very good luck with Kroger stores in every state that I've ever tried. I call the meat department ahead and I say, hey, I'd like to get some fat trimmings. Could you provide some? And sometimes they can do it that day. Sometimes they're like, come on Wednesday, we'll be cutting T-bones and we'll have some fat trimmings. So then I leave the store with a big old plate of wrapped fat trimmings, and then I cut them into cubes like this. And then I just keep them in the fridge, and I cook them in a skillet or the air fryer for 7 or 8 minutes until they're crispy, and they're so freaking good. Rob, they would be great with eggs. They're good plain, but it's just pure fat. So I don't prefer them plain. I serve them along with meat, especially leaner meats like sirloins or pork, things that are typically cheaper and leaner. Just makes it taste so much better. So that's my preference. The other thing I suggest is egg yolk. So you're doing that. Butter, I mean, lots of people love butter. Butter's not really my thing. If you're doing dairy, I mean, cream can be making sauces out of cream or adding cream to your coffee, that kind of thing. Cooking with lard or tallow, that certainly will increase your fat content. Also, if you do any ground beef, choosing fattier ground beef like a 7327 versus an 8515, those are a lot of different ways you can increase your fat. I actually have an infographic on my website, delightedtomeetyou.com. You have to pay $7 to get it, but you can also get it for free. Here's the way you get it for free. You go to delightedtomeetyou.com/macros. No. delightedtomeetyou.com/calculator. It's like a macro calculator there to tell you what % of your calories are coming from fat and protein. Just put in some numbers, and then it'll give you the option to download my fat macros chart, which shows about 40 foods probably on a carnivore diet, ranking them from most fat to least fat. So you can choose foods from the higher end of the fat on that chart if you want to download that. If you can't figure that out, DM me and I will send you better instructions. What is the highest your sodium has been? Just had blood work and mine was 147. Doc was concerned, but I wasn't. I don't know. I just got lab work too. It would take me a minute to pull this up. But it wasn't like exceeding the normal limits, but I can tell you from memory that whenever I have it tested, my sodium's always a little on the low end, and I can't explain that. I mean, I eat tons of sodium, so and I don't know that sodium in your blood is necessarily related to diet that much anyway, so I don't know that I would worry a ton about it either if you're not having any symptoms. But yeah, mine personally hasn't been really high, so I can't say from personal experience. I am fully carnivore for about 2 months. I do eat cheese. I've developed psoriasis on my scalp, back, and left leg. I did ask this last week, but new to Instagram, so I'm not sure how to DM you. Also eggs. Okay, so I find it pretty hard to believe that going to a low-carb carnivore diet would cause psoriasis, but that doesn't mean that you didn't already have some sort of gut dysbiosis or something going on that was leading to psoriasis, and it's just now presenting itself. And I'm just learning about this myself, but something called oxalate poisoning could be happening, oxalate dumping could be happening, OXALATE, oxalate dumping, where after eating plant foods with oxalates, which is a type of anti-nutrient, they are stored in your body, and then as soon as you're not ingesting them anymore, your body starts sort of pushing them out, and it often presents as a rash, psoriasis, eczema, things like that. So Google that, okay? See what you can find out about that. I know you said you're new to Instagram, you don't know how to DM me, but if you want to talk more about this and you go to like the home page of my Instagram, there will be a button that says message. So you can message me or just Google how to message someone on Instagram, and we can talk about this further. But hopefully that'll get you started anyway. what supplements, if any, do you find essential while I'm carnivore? So I don't find any supplements essential for everyone. I think that if you have some lab work done and you're deficient in certain areas, that those supplements can be useful for you. So I personally have been supplementing for about the last 2 months based on some lab work that I had done. I'm supplementing vitamin D, magnesium glycinate, and N-acetylcysteine, which is a liver supporter. And those are all based on my lab work. So I don't recommend that people just take those things unless you need them for some reason. And even then, I don't recommend taking them forever. You know, take it for 3 to 6 months, get your labs retested, see if you still need it. If anything is like sort of consistent for everyone, that's electrolytes. Most people do seem to need some electrolytes, and you can get quite a bit from your diet. An all-meat diet is really pretty high in potassium, sort of medium in magnesium, although our soil is deficient, so just about everybody is deficient in magnesium. So magnesium glycinate specifically is a good one for most people to supplement. And then sodium, I mean, if you're using a lot of salt, you should be getting a fair amount of sodium in your diet. But things like Element, Red Run Brelite, those kinds of electrolytes definitely help me and seem to help a lot of other carnivores too. So symptoms that would make you think you need to take electrolytes would be cramping, lethargy, like heart palpitations actually is usually a little more related to the magnesium. Those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head. Carnivore 6 months, still waiting to see benefits. Okay, so I'm curious, what has kept you going for 6 months if you're not seeing any benefits? I think if you really sit down and think of the benefits you've had, I bet there's something. You're sleeping better, you are no longer having allergies or some kind of chronic itch or something. Surely there's something. Now, maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong about that and it's truly been 6 months and you have had zero benefit and maybe you've even had some negative effects, then I would question, you know, what you're doing and why you're still doing this, especially if you don't enjoy it. Now, there are definitely things you can change up. Like, for example, if you're 6 months in, you could potentially go to, let's say, a lion diet for a month, which is just ruminant meats, salt, and water. Ruminant meats are animals that chew the cud. They have a ruminant digestive system. So typically that's beef. I mean, it's always beef, but typically what lion diet people eat is beef. Also lamb, elk, deer, bison, goats, those are ruminant animals. So if you eat nothing but ruminant meats for a month, surely you're gonna feel like a freaking $1,000,000. And then what you can do after that is slowly add things back, like 1 week chicken, 1 week seafood, 1 week pork. And then you can have a better idea of if something you're eating, like eggs, for example, is creating some issues that are keeping you from getting the benefits that you're doing this diet for, then you'll have a better idea of what food is doing that, and you can avoid that food and not just be spinning your wheels and feeling like, why am I not getting any benefit? This sucks. Any tips for coming off Omeprazole, which is for heartburn? I've been carnivore since January and lost 48 pounds. Okay, awesome job with the weight loss. Way to go. I do have some tips. If you've been at this for 6 months, January, so almost 6 months, you should be starting to regulate your gastric acid. If you're drinking coffee, that can absolutely be to blame. So if you're drinking coffee, I would cut that out for at least a month and see if it's getting better. Also, there's a digestive enzyme that I think is really helpful. I actually have some. Let me grab it. Don't go anywhere. Okay, this is just from Amazon. It's a digestive enzyme with betaine, which is helps to digest proteins, but it really helps with GERD and heartburn type symptoms. So first thing I would do, cut the coffee if you're drinking it. Second thing, if you still need it, or like I would rather die than cut out coffee, then try this for a few weeks, a few months maybe, and see if that helps. You shouldn't have to be on something like this forever either though. So you want to be able to eventually wean off of it. But hopefully one of those two things will help, or both. I have a client right now who's been able to successfully get off of her, it wasn't Omeprazole, it was a different one, but she occasionally, like once a week, we'll need to take a Prilosec actually. And she's been able so far to still drink coffee, but I think has had to kind of play with the brand. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my questions that were previously sent in. I'm determined to get through these today. Do you get a keto rash when you start? Did I get a keto rash when I started carnivore? This actually kind of goes back to that question somebody said about getting psoriasis. Maybe you could call that a keto rash. I don't know. My skin was a freaking wreck when I started carnivore, so it's impossible to know. It did get worse for about 3 weeks before it started getting better. I don't know if that was from the diet. I can't say. Okay, this person says, I'm eating more meat but still cheat. How do you have the discipline you have? Okay, so a couple things here. This is important. Great question. Okay, first of all, I started carnivore a couple years ago, and I didn't stick to it. I dove in headfirst, the lion diet from day one. It was too much. I ended up basically going back to being a binge eater. And so for about 6 months, I had to quit completely because I couldn't stop binging. I was eating these high-fat foods, and then I'd be binging. Like, it's a terrible combination. And so about 6 months went by, I was not doing the carnivore diet, and I was taking my poisonous medications for my psoriasis, and I just realized, like, you know, I don't want to do a temporary elimination carnivore diet. Like, I want to be a carnivore. When I was doing it and I was doing it well, that's when I felt my best. I want to choose this. I don't want to do it because I feel like I have to. I don't want to do it for a temporary thing and then go back to my normal life. Like, none of that is what I want anymore. I now want to literally identify as a carnivore, if you will. And so just changing my frame of mind in that way really helped from this discipline standpoint. The other thing is getting rid of all sweet flavors, and I mean all sweet flavors, like no chewing gum, no flavored electrolytes, not making the carnivore cheats like carnivore ice cream and even carnivore waffles. Like, there's no sweetness, but your brain equates a waffle to syrup. At least mine does. And so anytime I would have those kinds of things, it would make me crave carbs and sweets. And so I cut all of that out for 3-6 months. I mean, really a year that I didn't have a single sweet taste with the exception of toothpaste, and that didn't set me off. I think it does for some people. So there's some nasty toothpaste like made of clay on the market if that's a thing for you. But get rid of all the sweet taste and also change your mind. Like, this is something you're choosing, not something you're being forced to do. And those two things will take you a long, long way with the sweet cravings. Now I can be around sweets all the time. I actually had girls' night last night, which is wild, let me tell you. I drank water and soaked my feet in magnesium during girls' night. And my friends were eating like healthy foods, right? Vegetables and fruits and peanut butter and nothing like crazy. But they asked me, like, is it hard to be around people eating this kind of stuff? Is it hard to be around chocolate? And truly it is not. I could have a chocolate bar right in front of me and I would not be tempted to take a bite. Now, in the past, before I started the carnivore diet, I mean, I would have ate that freaking chocolate bar. I would have went to the store and got a gallon of ice cream. I would have stopped and got Taco Bell. That chocolate bar would be completely, there's no chance I wouldn't devour it instantly and then start a whole binge. So trust me, you can do it too. How do I convince my 18-year-old daughter to do carnivore so it can heal her psoriasis? This is one of the most heartbreaking things I see. And I think the answer is you can't. You can't convince anybody to do it. You can gently nudge, you can show them other people's stories, like you can show them my story when it comes to psoriasis stuff. You can live it yourself and let them see the results and the benefits. But if they're not ready, it's just not going to happen. And if it's starting to create a wedge between you, then it's not worth it. So I wish I had something like, if you say this magical phrase, that's going to work. But I just don't think anything exists. They just come around when they're ready, and you plant the seed, as they say, and then you're ready to till the garden if the rain comes. How about that for an analogy? Melissa says she's the same. Sweets have absolutely no control over you anymore. Okay, I thought that was going a different direction. I thought you were gonna say you're the same, you can't stop craving. Yes, I know you've struggled with the same stuff as me, and you are also proof that that stuff really does go away after a while. I want to get back to that stage of not wanting chocolate anymore. I was there 5 years ago. You know what's interesting? I've been out of like wanting those kinds of things for a long time. And around the beginning of the year, I started doing a little bit of sweetened electrolytes because I was like, I can do this now. I'm not binging, and I just want to have this kind of like a treat at the gym of an element or something like that. And sometimes I'm like, you know what sounds good? Chocolate. And I never did that for the first year. But now that, I mean, I barely drink sweetened electrolytes now because I've recognized that, but it definitely kind of brings back that monster a little bit for sure. How was that 7-in-1 air fryer you recommended recently? It's freaking awesome. I love my air fryer. I don't know if you can see it from here. It's, oh, there it is, right there. I use it multiple times a day. Also, look, I use Lysol. I'm not totally clean. I've admitted that lots of times, but it's great. And actually, stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon in a couple weeks, and you can win one. So be prepared for that. Since you're in healthcare, do your coworkers give you a hard time with carnivore? You know, not really. I worked at the hospital I work now when I was going through the worst of my health stuff. So I went on medication for my psoriasis. My skin's clear. Yay, hallelujah. Then I got vasculitis, and I was hospitalized with a severe strep throat and vasculitis, and I was hospitalized at the hospital I work at. And then 6 months later, my skin was just exploded with psoriasis. So they saw me going through that. You know, they saw me through the worst of the worst. And so I think on the one hand, they're like, okay, this works for Jen, and it's really helped her. And actually, I worked at the hospital Wednesday, and one of my coworkers, who's the biggest, like, but what about, where do you get your nutrients? And what about your cholesterol? You know, she's one of the biggest naysayers. She told me that she had a patient with psoriasis, and that they told them that she and her and another coworker told this patient about my story and my diet with psoriasis. Now he was like, I'd rather die than do that, but still. So they're starting to buy in a little bit. And I think they've always been very supportive. They tease me, but it's loving. And they definitely are not doing it, right? Like, nobody's interested. They don't want to do it for themselves, but they've accepted it. Now, the thing that I struggle with hard is working with patients and seeing how we're treating them and what we're recommending from the hospital. So, for example, a diabetic patient, I'm working with them for physical therapy. Then the hospitalist comes in and says, you haven't been eating enough. Eat a gallon of ice cream if that's what you need, you know? And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's a type 1 diabetic. Please don't tell her to eat a gallon of ice cream. He's like, you know, we're monitoring your blood sugars really closely, so eat whatever. And there's stuff like this every day. Every day there's stuff like this. And I don't really know how to handle it because it's not my job to be recommending all the nutrition stuff. Now, it's not really anybody's job, right? But it's typically like for a stroke patient, for example, maybe it would be the neurologist or the cardiologist recommending medicines and diet and stuff. They don't really touch on diet at all, but they just, you know, nope, it's just the worst advice ever. So I'm really struggling. I have not solved how to handle that. If anybody has any advice, definitely let me know. What kind of ice cream? I have no idea. He said, this is what he said. We need you to eat. So eat anything that sounds good. He said, get some chicken wings, which I was like, yeah, get chicken wings. That's great. He said, or a pizza, eat a whole pizza or a gallon of ice cream. I don't even care. We're monitoring your blood sugars. So yeah, that's what he said. And she was kind of like, okay. Meanwhile, she's getting TPN, which is nutrition through an IV basically. And it has dextrose in it. That's the main ingredient. So a bunch of sugar. It's ridiculous. See, you guys got me started. Now my blood pressure's up. Okay. Any suggestions for more fat other than butter when you struggle to eat animal fat? I actually answered this just a little bit ago for Rob, who eats 16 egg yolks a day. Egg yolks are a great choice for increasing fat. My favorite is fat trimmings. Cooking in tallow or lard is a good way to do it. Getting fattier beef, fattier cuts of meat, that kind of thing. So again, if you want to have a visual of what foods are higher in fat, which ones are lower in fat, there's 2 ways to get it from my website, delightedtomeetyou.com. One, scroll down and you can see all the things that I've created that I offer, and that one costs $7. or you can go to delightedtomeetyou.com/calculator, plug in a couple numbers for a macro calculator, and then it'll take you to the link for free to get that fat macros chart. So that might help too. Best tips for getting started. But as far as advice for getting started, I think recognize where you're coming from. Okay, so if you are the kind of person that needs to kind of go all in, or else it's just not going to work, go all in. Like one day you're not carnivore, then next you are. If you're the kind of person who can kind of ease in, like, okay, I'm going to stop with the sugar, now I'm going to stop doing any vegetables, now I'm going to stop doing anything in oils, now, and slowly easing in, then do that. That is not me, and I find that is not a lot of people that tend to drift toward a carnivore diet. But that's number one. And then number two, try not to be too terribly strict or too terribly focused on whatever your goal is at first. Okay, so your first goal really needs to become unaddicted to all of those foods that you were addicted to before, most likely. Carbs, processed foods, seed oils, that kind of thing. Know your why. Yes, that's a good one. But it takes a couple months just to get used to the diet, to get through some GI distress, to get your energy levels back to normal, maybe even better than normal, just to get used to everything. So for that first month or two, just eat whatever foods are carnivore. In my opinion, that's any animal product, including dairy, any kind of meat, anything that comes from the animal, salt, of course, electrolytes if you need them, even sweetened ones, even seasonings and condiments if that's what you need at first. And then the amazing thing is, after a couple months, your body becomes very accustomed to, like, I kind of want more salt. I kind of want less fat. Like, you can start to actually get these cues just from how you're feeling, but also from objective things that are happening. Like, if you're having diarrhea, you can know, okay, I need to pull back on fat a little. Or if you're a little constipated a few weeks in, oh, I need to add some fat in. I mean, things like that. So go slow, know your why, know like how hard to go based on what you can tolerate, and then listen to your body when it starts talking to you. Hawthorne Ranch says, 1 weekend, feeling pretty run down, staying strong, what about vitamin C? Okay, 1 weekend is very normal to be feeling run down. If you think about it, your body's been using glucose as its main source of fuel for probably most of your life. And so after a week, you've now depleted all the blood glucose, and you've also depleted most, if not all, of the glycogen stored in your muscles and your liver. And so now your body's like, frick, where do I get my energy? And it's starting to learn to use fat as fuel by creating ketones, but it's not efficient yet, and it's not going to be efficient for 4 to 6 weeks. So usually around the 1 to 2 or 3 week mark is when you feel the worst when it comes to the energy levels. So you're right there, and then this is normal. Do try to get as much rest as you can. Don't try to kill it at the gym. Make sure you're drinking enough water, add electrolytes if needed, but it's kind of like just wait it out a little bit too. And then the vitamin C, carnivores don't get a lot of vitamin C. There's a little bit in meat, especially organ meats. I think spleen is pretty high in vitamin C, which I got some, by the way, recently at a butcher shop, but I haven't eaten it yet. But anyway, the thing about vitamin C is vitamin C and glucose compete for transport in the body. So when you're ingesting vitamin C, but you're also eating carbs, you're not actually getting all of that vitamin C. And so when you're no longer eating carbs, your vitamin C need goes way down, which is why you pretty much never hear of carnivores having scurvy. So definitely don't worry about the vitamin C. Excuse me. That's another thing. If you go to my website, delightedtomeetyou.com, there's a nutrient density chart that I've created, and it's free, I think. If not, scroll through my Instagram, and I've made a couple posts about it where you can get it for free. And it shows that basically all the vitamins and minerals are higher in meat than they are in plants, with the exception of vitamin C and fiber. It's not even on the chart, but we definitely don't need fiber. We can talk about that if you want to, but in the comments of the post that I've made, I talk a little bit more about the vitamin C thing. Weird question, but do you give blood to lower your iron? Thinking about if I need to do it. Yeah, so there's actually a disorder called hemochromatosis, I think, where I think think because of a genetic mutation, iron levels are too high. And so the treatment for that is regularly giving blood. So yes, that will help decrease your iron. I actually my iron's fine, but my ferritin was a little high, and so I was considering that. But also I think if you can, you should give blood anyway. And so I do. And so I just was gonna see what my labs look like next time after giving blood regularly. But the thing is, if your iron is high, of course you're eating a lot of iron-rich foods, but if your iron is high with a blood test, the idea is to get to the root of why your iron is high, right? Like you don't want that to just keep being a chronic thing over and over and over. There's a root cause to these kinds of things. So I don't exactly know where to tell you to start. If you want to DM me, I can help you try to research this a little bit, but the short answer is yes, I think the giving blood will help, but you also shouldn't just ignore this forever if it continues to be a thing. Spleen is high in iron, C, and B12. Important to reduce carbs to get your dietary vitamin C needs. Yes, glucose and vitamin C compete for the GLUT4 transporter. Yes, exactly, Chris, thank you. Started working out in February and have been sore forever. Basically, my legs and knees are the worst, but I take Jocko Greens and thought that would help. I bet you that's what's making you sore. I'm learning a lot right now about oxalates, and I bet you that green powder is just full of oxalates, and it's creating some issues with your joints. And Dr. Anthony Chafee, if you don't know who that is, you should look him up. He's jacked, okay? And he swears that when you go carnivore, delayed onset muscle soreness after working out is not a thing anymore. And I will say, I am significantly less sore from my workouts now than I was before I was a carnivore. Not that I'm never sore, but never like, oh my gosh, I can't sit on the toilet, or oh my gosh, I can't get up from the toilet. You know what I mean? I have not experienced that once as a carnivore, so I think he might be onto something. Do you strictly eat meat or meat and fruit? I do not eat any fruit, no plants. I don't even do seasonings. I only eat meat, eggs, and recently I've added a little bit of raw heavy cream to my coffee, so I guess that's a plant. I've recently added coffee back too, but just meat and eggs basically. I 100% can't drink electrolyte drinks. I found a pink salt pill with 1,000 milligrams / 390 milligrams of sodium. Are electrolyte pills good? Yes. They're not as diverse. They don't have, they typically, the ones I've seen on the market don't have magnesium, potassium, and sodium. They usually have sodium and maybe potassium. I can't remember what the other, or maybe it's like sodium and chloride. So they're not as robust from like hitting all the electrolytes, but that's fine. If you're taking those and you're doing fine, do it. You might get the same effect from just doing more salt, adding more salt to your food or adding salt to your water, but it's not a problem if that's what you can tolerate. Every time I hit my phone, it like bounces. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, 2 people asked a similar question. Have you hacked weight loss on carnivore? This person says, I gained in the first 3 months and trying to lose it. And then the other person said, where are you at in your fat loss journey? Okay, so I have not really lost weight, you guys. I mean, I've been carnivore a 1.5 years. I basically weigh the same. Now, on the one hand, sometimes I'm like, I don't really need to lose weight anyway. And on the other hand, sometimes I'm like, I just really want to lose like 10 or 15 pounds, you know what I mean? But I've had such wonderful healing on a carnivore diet that I've just, like, I don't even care. I feel so good. If I am this size forever, I'll be fine. But I would like to lose a little weight. And honestly, at this point, I also want to figure that out so I can help you guys too when you feel like you're stuck. And so I've been doing some research and watching different videos from different people of different things to do. And I will say, I think the main culprit for me is definitely stress. I bet you my cortisol is through the roof. So I'm trying to really prioritize rest and sleep and breathing. And those things do not come easy to me, but that's something that I'm working on. And yeah, stay tuned. Now, I did get a DEXA scan at the beginning of the year, so I know exactly what my body composition was, and I have been working out consistently. So at the end of the year, I'll do the DEXA scan again, and that'll be interesting to see if maybe my weight doesn't change, but my lean mass has increased and my body fat's decreased. We'll see. Somebody said something about, what about creatine? Now I can't find it, but that's what it said. I don't take it. I do sometimes take collagen protein though, just because I like it. Not a lot of carnivores do take it. It's not a actually, no, I'm not gonna weigh in on creatine. If anyone in the comment, in the watching has any comments about creatine, put those there. So our home look in the comments to see what people have to say about creatine. I'm not an expert on that. I guess basically what I do know is when you're taking it, it fills your muscles more with water, I believe, and so they appear to be bigger, and then when you stop taking it, maybe that goes away. So I don't know how good that is long term. Ginny Olegi, Sally Norton, and Dr. Chafee have great knowledge on the topic of oxalates. Yes, that is definitely true, especially Sally Norton. She has a great book called Toxic Superfoods. Darn it, I keep hitting the wrong button. Body composition, energy level, youthful look, and optimized healing is what counts. Okay, true story. Okay, any advice on dealing with sciatic nerve pain while being carnivore? Currently taking over-the-counter pain meds. Yes, I do have advice. If you have been carnivore for a couple months and you're still having sciatic pain, then honestly, I think you should see a PT. There are several things that they can look at and assess and potentially help you treat. So if something's a little funny with your back, like a core stability issue, or one of your vertebra is like stuck, like not that they're stuck or not stuck, but sometimes one will move less, the others will move more. There's something blocking normal fluid movement. That could be an issue. Also, sometimes something's really tight, like your hip flexors are really tight, pulling your pelvis forward, which decreases the space in your low back. Or maybe your hamstrings are really tight, which is putting more of a tension on the sciatic nerve and those posterior nerves. So the treatment is very specific on what the physical therapist can see with your posture, your strength, your stability, all of that. But I think that would be invaluable for you to go get assessed, and at the very least to have them show you some things that you can do at home. I heard Dr. Berry say unless you work out hard, creatine doesn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, that person did say that they've been working out pretty hard and they're very sore. So I guess maybe that it could still help. Oh, Laura says, you've helped me so much. I have so much trouble with getting a carb craving. I have so much trouble with that. I hate that. Okay, so Laura, keep at it. Avoid all sweet tastes. And know and tell yourself that you're not being punished that you can't have carbs. You're choosing not to have carbs because you don't want them to affect your mental health and your gut health and wreak havoc on every area of your life. You get the choice and you're choosing. So once you really can kind of mentally accept that, that helps a lot. Natalie said, I started supplementing it after asking Bronson Dant about it in Costa Rica. My goal was building muscle. I think you're talking about creatine, Natalie. So I'd love for you to share your positive or negative experience with that in the comments. Next question is about menopause, okay? So this person has hot flashes from menopause and they want to know, they're not really super clear in the question, but basically I think they're saying they want to know how the carnivore diet can help with that, or what else can they do. Now this is out of my expertise, so I did try to look up a little bit of information and I want to share this answer as best I can. But basically, most of what I'm telling you here, I either got from a tiny bit of research or from listening to some stuff that Dr. Berry said. And he was talking about estrogen and progesterone replacement, which he's a big proponent of, what's it called? Bioidentical hormone replacement. But apparently the pharmaceuticals that are available for hormone replacement they're not actually hormones. They're chemicals. Because you can't get a patent on a naturally occurring substance, right? So you have to alter it. It has to be a chemical. So any kind of synthetic hormone replacement, he would say, is not recommended, but that's typically what you can get. So unless you can get bioidentical hormones, which he says can be very useful, don't do that. And then he was saying that there's some research that shows that some vitamins can help with hot flashes and sort of the general menopause situation. And those vitamins he mentioned were vitamin D, zinc, and B vitamins, which incidentally the carnivore diet is very high in those vitamins. So he was kind of saying, like, there's not really a lot of research on the carnivore diet for menopausal symptoms. However, this sort of N=1 results of people in his comments and stuff saying, I went on the carnivore diet and my symptoms are way better, just lots of positive reports. So take that as you will, I guess. Natalie was getting stronger faster than before taking faster than before taking creatine. It affects cognition too, brains and muscles. Okay, so it sounds like she has had a positive experience, and I guess Coach Bronson must take creatine too. I didn't know that. Next question is, what would be a good daily sodium or electrolyte goal? I don't know that anyone's ever really asked me this before. People ask all the time, what should my macros be? But when it comes to what should my electrolytes be, I think specifically with salt, I mean salt taste. If salting your food just seems like the best thing and it's so tasty, add all the salt. If it's like, oh, this is so salty, I mean, your body talks to you, your body tells you, so you don't need as much salt. But if you need a number, something around 5 grams a day is kind of the general recommendation, which is about 2 teaspoons of salt, a little over that. But you know, if you're working in a hot climate, you're exercising a bunch, you might need more salt. Or if you're very sedentary, you are not sweating a lot, you're living in Canada, and I don't know if there's parts of Canada right now that are still cold. I have no idea. But if that's the case, you may need less. So start with about that 2-ish teaspoons a day, and then go up or down from there depending on how you're feeling and what your taste buds are telling you. Okay, is it possible to lower your cholesterol, triglycerides, and your HDL on this diet? Yes, it certainly is. Now, not everybody that goes on a carnivore diet lowers their total cholesterol or their LDL. Sometimes it stays the same, which is basically the case in my case, and sometimes it will go up. But HDL, let's be clear about that. You don't want that to go down. You want your HDL to go up, which when your HDL goes up, your total cholesterol goes up too. I mean, that is part of that total cholesterol number. So the higher the HDL, the better for sure. And a carnivore diet will help that go up. Eating red meat and lifting weights specifically will increase HDL. Now, triglycerides pretty much across the board will always come down on a low carb carnivore diet. So those 2 things most definitely should be happening. Whether or not the total cholesterol and the LDL come down, it's a little bit different for everyone, but it's like kind of a moot point, honestly. I can go into that if you guys want a lot. I have a bunch of videos on this, so I will spare you unless you want me to go into that. If you do, let me know about why the LDL doesn't really matter. Started first 3 months of Carnivore Strong and dropped water weight, but slowly gained 10 pounds since. Why? Okay, so it's different for everyone, and this is the kind of thing where doing it as much research as you can, getting a coach if you need to, whatever the thing is that you need for more support, do that, because there are many causes that could be causing you to hang on to weight or gain weight back. One certainly is eating too much food. I mean, I know that some people say you can eat however much you want as a carnivore, you can eat whatever you want and still lose weight. I just don't think that's true for everyone. I can put down some food. I could eat 5 pounds a day of ribeye if I tried. And I promise you, I would be steadily gaining weight if I did that. And so, that could be one thing. Keep eating too much, eating too frequently, keeping your insulin too high, and so you can't dip into your fat stores. That could be doing it. Under eating and creating stress on your body, increasing your cortisol. That could be causing you to not lose weight. Not getting enough sleep, which also affects your hunger hormones and a lot of stuff. Back to the cortisol, that could be an issue. And then of course the thing that people say, oh, you could be gaining muscle. I don't know if that's usually the answer, really. It's just the thing people say to be nice, but that could be, I suppose. So yeah, lots of factors could be going on, and I would just suggest changing one thing at a time, like either decreasing the amount of food you're eating by a little bit or increasing it if you need to. So maybe track for a couple weeks and see what you're eating as far as how much fat, how many calories, just to get an idea. And then that can give you an idea of if you need to go up or down. And then if that doesn't do it within a month or so, then try 1 less meal a day, right? Increasing your fasting window and decreasing your eating window. If that doesn't work, then try testing glucose and ketones and then using that data to help you figure out what to do next. There's always stuff to do. What is one thing you love about being a carnivore? That's such a sweet question, and honestly, that's really hard. It would be easier to say, what do I not like about being carnivore? And the main thing is getting teeth and stuff in my teeth constantly and constantly having to floss. That is the one thing I don't like. And I thought of something else today that I don't like, and I can't remember what it is. If it comes to me, I'll tell you. But what I like about it, man, the food is so freaking good. I don't binge anymore. My life is so much simpler. I just don't have to think about cooking really or what I'm gonna get. Like, it's a pretty limited menu, which makes my life less limited, if that makes sense. Now it's just become such a part of my identity, so I love that. I love that my skin is clear, that I went to the pool today in a swimsuit and I didn't, I wasn't embarrassed. I didn't have to cover my spots. I don't have to go like this all the time. If you've had psoriasis, you know what I mean. The elbows are always like the worst part. I didn't have to wipe off my sheets from flakes when I got up this morning. I mean, there's too many things that I love about it. Bacon is the worst for getting caught in your teeth. Interesting. I don't know that I have too much trouble with bacon. It's more like steaks and stuff like that, chicken, those kind of meats that get stuck in my teeth. Oh gosh, short ribs, jerky, all the things I love. Do you put spices on your meat or only salt? I basically only use salt. I use Redmond Real Salt, which I'm obsessed with. You guys know I basically forced them to let me be an affiliate a long time ago, months ago. And people ask me, what is it about Redmond Real Salt that's so good? Well, on their website, there's a list of like 8 things. It's mined locally, there's no microplastics, all these things, okay? But the reason it's the best is it's freaking delicious. So good. And I have made food for lots of people as a carnivore, mostly different guys that I was dating at different times. And every one of them is like, what is this magical salt? Why is this so good? It's so good. It just has a flavor. Like regular salt tastes like salt. This tastes like, I don't know, freaking magical salt. It's so good. I'm not just trying to get you to buy it. It's so good. So yeah, I don't use any other seasonings or spices. I just don't feel the need to. I have a cabinet full of them and I just don't use them. When I go to dinner, like let's say I go to Texas Roadhouse, I go there a fair amount. I don't necessarily ask them to not use their seasoning. So in that case, I eat whatever's on there. I do fine with it. I'm a very simple cook. So maybe it's just more out of laziness that I don't do any seasonings. Steaks and burger patties get caught in your teeth. Yep. Maybe you covered this, but is the quality of the meat that important if you're on a budget? Especially if you're on a budget, I would say it is not. I've once heard, I think it was Dr. Chafee say, that if you've cut out sugar, seed oils, processed foods, and you're just eating animal products, and you're eating the cheapest crap, hot dogs, the 99 cent a pound chicken that's like the byproduct chicken. I mean, if you're eating the cheapest things, but as animal products, you're like silver medal in the Olympics, right? You're one of the best in the world. You're one of the healthiest in the world. Whereas if you have grass-fed, grass-finished, pasture-raised everything, maybe you're a gold medal, okay? So there's a little bit of difference there between the gold and the silver. But those two are still like the best in the world at whatever that event is in the Olympics. So that's really, I believe that. That's how I look at it too. Sure, pasture-raised, grass-fed, grass-finished, all that is a couple of reasons that it's good. It's usually the animals are a little more humanely raised. It's maybe regenerative farming, that kind of thing. But not everyone can afford that or has access to that. Frankly, I probably could afford it, I guess. I mean, I'm on a budget, but I could afford it some of the times, and I do have some access to it, and I still don't always choose it. Sometimes I do. It just depends on, like, if there's a local farmer and that's what they sell, then, and I want to support them, then I'll buy that. But like at the grocery store, I typically just get conventional meats. And I actually prefer the flavor of grass-fed, grain-finished beef. So Milagro Ranch, who I mentioned earlier, that's what they offer, and that's my preference, especially when it comes to the fat. It's so much tastier. So the short answer is, it doesn't matter that much. Buy what you like, what you can afford, and what you have access to. This diet, this lifestyle is not going to work if it's not easy, sustainable, and comfortable. So don't stress about raw everything, raw dairy, $7 eggs. I mean, I have some raw cream here and it's awesome and I'm so happy to have it, but not everyone has that, and sometimes I just have the cheap cream. Grains, sugars, and seed oils must be eliminated from your diet. Spam and hot dogs is okay. Yeah. Sales. Yes. I went to Dillon's today to get some Ziploc bags to do dog food, to like put my dog's food together for the week. And they had chicken wings, chicken thighs, and chicken breasts on sale for $1.77 a pound. It was the best. I always go to the meat department just to see what's going on in there. Do you fast? I've lost about 12 pounds in 2 months. It's really slow going. I personally don't fast. I've tried it a few times. It always bites me in the butt. I always end up kind of rebelling and overeating after. And I don't know if it's just because I have a history of binge eating or if it's just my personal toughness when it comes to fasting is not good. But I just don't have a lot of success with it. But if you can do that and you can tolerate it well and not sort of rebound and overeat, then I think, there's a lot of research for why fasting is good. At the very least, intermittent fasting, where you just maybe eat within a 6 to 8 hour eating window, and that can help with speeding up your weight loss a little bit. I will say 12 pounds is pretty good, but I know when you see people saying they lost 50 pounds in 2 months, you feel like, well, what am I doing wrong? But if you keep losing 6 pounds a month, just think how much you're gonna lose in a year. That's awesome. Is it good to go full carnivore immediately, or should it be a gradual process? So this is a very specific question about you and how you are. I think for me, I'm a very black and white person. If I eased in, let's say one day I cut out just sugar, okay? And then but then the next day I'd be like, well, I just ate potato chips. That's not healthy. I might as well just eat sugar. I mean, that's exactly what I would do. So for me, I have to just dive right in. And so that's what I relate to. But some people do take like 6 months to slowly ease in. And that works for some people. So it really just depends on what feels the best to you and what you think you're gonna have success with. And either way is okay. Tallow, actually 2 people asked a similar question. Tallow skincare, let us know your favorite products. Thank you. And then what kind of skincare do you use on your face specifically? So I actually shared a reel about this today. About 2 things that I love, and so I'm going to show you here. I swear I did not plant this question, by the way. It was actually a submitted question. So the thing that I like on my face is beef tallow, and this is one brand that I really love, Noahic Balm, specifically this flavor called Citrus Joy. It smells like a freaking lemon cupcake. It smells better than a lemon cupcake even tastes. So I love to just put it on my face at night, and I feel like how I used to feel when I had a lemon cupcake. And a lot of people asked today when I posted if it makes your skin greasy. And I will say it makes it greasier than lotion, but I've gotten so used to it that it doesn't bother me at all. And I actually heard a celebrity say, when it's time for bed, if my face doesn't look like a glazed donut, then I'm not ready for bed. And that's kind of my motto too. I'm putting all the things on my face. But this is to show you, it absorbs pretty good. I mean, it's definitely a little bit, not tacky, but I can feel it. It's very moisturizing. And then, yes, Chris, Spearhead Soaps is great. This is from Spearhead Soaps. This is what I put on my body. This is my favorite thing, the moisturizing body butter. It also smells so good, like a vanilla cupcake. And this is another one that really is not greasy. It goes on so smooth. You can see it's a little shiny, but man, it's awesome. And to answer a few people's questions today on my post, my pillowcase is not stained, my sheets are not stained. There's nothing is getting messed up from being greased up. But when I go to bed, yes, my face is a little shiny, and it feels awesome to me because I'm used to it now. And then when I wake up in the morning, it's still like extremely moisturized. And I've recently started wearing it under my makeup. I never thought I would do that because I thought it would be too greasy under my makeup, but it's actually pretty great. Oh, a couple other things. So a few people today asked me, what about men, skincare for men? So, I mean, men's skin, just like women's, you can use all these things I'm talking about, or most of these companies have scents that are sort of more tailored for men. So like Noahic Balm has one that's called Woods or something like that. There's another company I love called Pure Tallow, Pyoor, and they have one, I forgot what it's called, but it's specifically for men. It kind of smells like coffee a little bit. It's really nice. And then most of these companies have unscented ones as well. Tallow sunscreen. I've not tried that. I have not needed any sunscreen since going carnivore, really. So, but I understand that they do make that. Fritz something, Clara and Fritz. I'm not sure, but there are some tallow sunscreens on the market. Okay, there's a couple questions in the question box, so I'll answer those and then we will say goodbye. Do you use tallow soap for your face and your body? I do sometimes. Sometimes I use Dr. Squatch, which is a natural soap as well. And then I often will, in my little soap holder thing, I'll have Dr. Squatch, and I'll have a tallow one, usually from Spearhead Soaps. They have great tallow soap. And I've also used goat milk soap. That's pretty good too. What kind of skincare lotion was that? Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, that's okay. So the thing I mostly put on my face is Noahic Balm, which is a mixture of beef tallow and some olive oil and just really wonderful scents. And then what I would like to put on my body is from Spearhead Soaps. This is grass-fed tallow, beeswax, and then some essential oils for scent. You guys, I'm really obsessed with it. I'm not kidding you. Claire and Fritz. Yes, that's who has the tallow sunscreen. Just a personal observation, while not actually fasting and only have coffee and some cream in the morning, I get better results than having 3 meals a day. Classic calorie deficit. Yeah, I agree, Chris. I think that if having coffee in the morning keeps you from having a meal, then absolutely, if you can tolerate that and you're doing fine with it and you're having success with weight loss, I mean, I think that it's because you ate fewer calories, but I mean, that's a strategy that works for some people. My hair looks adorable. Thank you. Sue, I think, Mountain Nana. I actually put this in my hair because I have really frizzy hair. I mean, you can see it's a little frizzy right now, but I wash it and all that, and then I put the tallow in there, and then I put a couple products in there, and it's a little wild, but I think it looks pretty good, so thank you. Okay, guys, I am gonna sign off. It's been an hour, so thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you and get to chat with you. I'm gonna try to keep going live once a week just to, you know, have this community time. I really like it. And plus I still have a whole page with the questions. Oh wait, I have to sign off with one more question, you guys. It's a question that was just asked about an hour ago, and I want us to enjoy it together. It's basically hate speech, okay? So here's the question. Are you stupid? I mean, you're not supposed to eat like a lion. You're a frugivore. Jesus, woman, educate yourself better in nutrition, and please stop recommending this rubbish to the public because it's not true or healthy. So you're risking people's lives. You know you could have a heart attack or be diagnosed with cancer one of these days. That's the question. And I responded, yes, I'm stupid. So we'll just leave it at that. I have a post that's from 1 Year Carnivore, and I was just sharing all my reports. Like, my skin is clear, I'm off all my medications, I'm no longer binging, like all these wonderful things. And so to hear like, you're stupid, you're killing yourself, you're killing people by recommending this is just the silliest thing I've ever heard. And I have no interest in going back and forth. If you guys want to go find it and talk to this person, you're welcome to, but they're not worth my time. So anyway, thank you all for being here, and we will chat next time. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. And if you have any further questions, please let me know in the comments, where I will either answer them there and or include them in a future video. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and catch me on Instagram, where we can connect every day, and then you can actually catch one of these lives live.